Alrighty, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rookies of the Year podcast. It's me and Rob today. We're going to talk a little bit about these big blockbuster trades in the NBA and the MLB. We're going to talk NBA Finals as well, and then we're going to do a little Rookies versus the Vet featuring Jaden Daniels up at the end. But we're going to start here in Orlando. Orlando shocks the world yesterday. Make a trade, 4 first-round picks, KCP. Also, Cole Anthony, get Desmond Bain back in return. We got our season ticket holder certified. Rob, what do you think? Did the Magic give up too much for Bain, or was the exact type of trade that they needed to make a name for themselves here in the East? Go ahead, Rob.
I'm excited, man. This felt like it had to be a big summer for the Magic. Um, Obviously there were a lot of rumors out there. Nobody really saw the Desmond Bain trade coming. That was kind of out of nowhere. On the surface, it seems like they gave up a lot. 4 unprotected first round picks, and I think a pick swap was in there, and then KCP and Cole Anthony. But I feel like when you really break it down, I don't think they gave up that much. Cole Anthony barely plays. He really only played last year because Jalen Suggs was injured. And KCP, they gave him a big contract, obviously, for 3 years to try to come in and be like a 3 and D player. And I think with Desmond Bain, you replace KCP with a guy that can not only shoot the three ball, but he can do a lot of other things as well. So that's a huge upgrade there at the two spot. Um, 4 first round picks, it is kind of a lot, but only one of those picks is probably going to end up being good. Being good. That 2026 Phoenix or Washington pick.
Yeah,
Um, we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, it looks like the Suns probably won't be good next year. Um, but other than that, I think those other 3 first round picks from Orlando are probably not going to be that good
right.
because we're expecting the Magic to be pretty good,
Hmm.
really good, probably for the next few seasons. Um,
Yeah,
So you trade away a few late first round picks and a backup point guard that barely plays, and then you upgrade KCP for a borderline all star with Desmond Bain. Um, this gives you a starting lineup now: Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bain, Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero, and for the time being, Wendell Carter Jr. I say for the time being because hopefully they move off of him and make an upgrade there at the center spot. But I think this gives them a really solid core with those four, and Desmond Bain being of the core four that they have. Desmond Bain is the oldest one now at 26 years old. Then you have
yeah.
Suggs, 24. I think Franz is 23. Paulo's 22.
Hmm.
So I mean, you got four really good players locked in for the next 4 years. And then they still have assets to make other moves. They still have that Wendell Carter. They still have the Jonathan Isaac contract, and they still have a few other picks that they can package up there too. So, um, huge move that makes them a lot better right now, and it still leaves room for future improvements as well. If you're a Magic fan, you've got to be really excited.
Yeah, on paper, it looks like it's a lot for, like you said, a lot of those picks are going to be late in the first round, except for that one pick with Phoenix. But yeah, like you said, I don't think Desmond Bain was on anybody's radar, but I think what really makes this trade really work is I don't think Desmond Bain makes you better on defense. I think he does make you even better. He doesn't kind of the players that were kind of in the mix for the Magic to be traded or trading for were all players that were going to be liabilities on defense, and I think that they keep this together or that defensive identity together with Desmond Bain. And that Magic team needed 3-point shooting. They were one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league last year. You have a guy that shoots 50, 40, 90, can shoot off the ball, can shoot with the ball. I think it's just a great move for Desmond or to trade for Desmond Bain. The East is kind of wide open next year too, so I think that was one of the things that you're going to see these teams overpay, especially in the East, to try to make a finals run. And we'll kind of hit on that later. But yeah, I think it's a perfect move for the Magic. Talk about how you think he's going to fit in with Paolo and Franz offensively and defensively for the next couple years.
Yeah, and like you said, the Magic, they were in rumors for a lot of other guys like Trey Young, LaMelo Ball, Darius Garland, like um like star point guards. But like you said, all those guys are defensive liabilities. And I feel like if you're the Magic, you don't need to chase a third star. You already
Right.
know what you have with Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Not everybody watches the Magic, but the people that do watch them, they know that these two guys are legit. So you already have your two stars that are still on their rookie deals, or I think Franz might have just started his new contract. You have two guys that are 6'10 forwards that can do everything, 23 years old and younger. I think you just need to put the right pieces around them. Desmond Bain comes in. He's going to be their third option. And he's a guy that last year averaged 19, 6, and 5. We've seen him get up to like 24, 6, and 5. And like you said, he's a 50, 40, 90 guy.
Yeah.
And he might not be a great defender, but he's not going to be a liability. I don't think he's going to make their defense any worse.
Mm-mm.
And he's going to help their offense tremendously. It just opens up the floor so much for Paulo and Franz. And then we know how good they are playmaking at the forward spot. So it's just another guy around them that's going to knock down shots as well.
Yeah, you have that backcourt of Jalen Suggs and Desmond Bain. That's a tough backcourt to be any opposing team coming into Orlando having to face up against those two guys, especially defensively. You just know you're gonna have a long night if you're a point guard or shooting guard coming here to Orlando. And then, like you
And
said, you got the
Suggs,
yeah. Go ahead.
oh, my fault. Suggs, that makes his life a little bit easier too, because now he slides down to being the fourth option.
Yeah,
If
and
he just
he's
needs
able to
to knock
switch.
down,
Like
yeah, that
he's
guy
not
can
gonna have
guard.
to. Yeah, he
He
was
can
gonna have
guard
to
up
go
like
over
4 positions,
screens. Yeah.
and then he can knock
Um.
down that 3 point shot. We've seen Suggs knock down like 39% of his threes. If he can get back to that, and I think having that much more space on the floor and having his stars next to him is going to help with that efficiency as well. And
Right.
then obviously Desmond Bain, he just adds so much space to the floor.
Yeah, because you look
And
at
he's
those
another
two in the front court, and then you look at those two on the wing. The only guy that's really a sore thumb that's sticking out is Wendell Carter Jr. And that's
yeah.
a guy that, I mean, he doesn't really demand the ball. He's a guy that rebounds pretty well and then just plays off ball in the dunker spot mostly. But he might hit a couple three balls a game. But yeah, you move on from Wendell and you get a real center in there down here in Orlando, and I think they make some noise and they shake up something here in the East for sure.
I don't want to
Talk
sound
about
like a
that. What do you think
Wendell
their ceiling is?
Magic ceiling next season or just next season.
Yeah, let's talk about like big picture. What do you think their target for next year is? Knowing you don't really have Boston, you have Indiana, you have the Knicks, and honestly Orlando and Cleveland maybe being those top four seeds in the East.
Yeah. Um, I mean, we see how wide open the Eastern Conference is already. Nobody thought that the Pacers were going to come out of the East this year, and it's not like they have the most talented team. Yeah, they have a lot of talented guys, but I think they really just play in a great system with a great coach. And sometimes that's all you need to at least get to the finals. They might not win it. That's yet to be seen, and we'll get into that later. But the East is so wide open. The Magic decide to put a few of their chips in to make an upgrade right now. I think even without Desmond Bain, I was pretty high on the Magic's upside because we saw last year they were a top 3 to 4 team in the East when they were healthy. Obviously, Paulo was out. He missed like over 30 games, and then Franz goes out with the same exact injury. And then
Yeah,
Suggs suffers a season ending injury. Mo Wagner tore his ACL. He didn't play much of the season. They get all of these guys back, and now you add in a guy like Desmond Bain. I think if they just shore up the bench a little bit, maybe get a backup point guard or upgrade that center spot, this is a team that could potentially come out of the East next season.
yeah.
Like the East is so wide open. I don't see why they can't. I think Paulo and Franz are that good. And now you have Suggs and Bain around them. They just need a few more small upgrades, and they're right there.
They're fitting the formula, which is have two superstars and a 1A and a 1B, surround them with guys that can play defense and get stops and be able to limit team scoring and be able to beat teams on the offensive end just because you're playing out better than them with Franz and Paolo. And I think that they're kind of fitting that mold of what a championship team is going to be in the future. And yeah, I think they have every shot at making the at least the Eastern Conference Finals next year. And then that gives you a shot to make the finals if you win that series. We saw what the Pacers did. We thought they were going to lose in the ECF, but they go out there and actually win it against the Knicks and have a chance to be able to make this a series in the finals and have title contentions. It's actually very impressive, very impressive. But yeah, I think Orlando they definitely have a shot to make the finals next year.
Yeah, for sure. And it's gonna be a lot of fun, obviously. I'll be at a ton of the games. You could tag along for a few. It's gonna be fun,
Yeah,
man.
I'll be down. Yeah,
Keep
I
us
think
for the
Desmond Bain. Are we talking about Desmond Bain here? Yeah, I think last year he did have some assist numbers and grew in that aspect of his game, especially when Jaw was out. He was kind of their number one. Him and Jaren were kind of their guys. We'll talk about the Grizzlies here in a second, but yeah, I do think Desmond Bain had an upgrade in that assist category as well. He can do everything on the floor. Wendell has to start probably.
I mean, with the current roster that they have, Wendell kind of has to start. But like we said, hopefully they upgrade there. I think Wendell is more of like a four, honestly. I feel like he's more of a power forward than a center. But
Yeah, he
obviously the
is.
Magic don't need a power forward. They already have a superstar power forward. Unless you bring Carter off the bench, but that's kind of redundant. That's what you have
I don't
Mo
know
Wagner.
how Wendell has made himself such a long-standing career in the NBA from being what
If
was
I'm the
thought to be
Magic,
a huge bust.
if I'm the Magic, I'm trying to turn Wendell Carter and a few other assets into maybe a Nick Claxton or a Walker Kessler.
Paul Boston,
So
get Chris Stapps down here in Orlando. I'm sure he'll like it.
Kristaps, I mean,
Yeah,
hell yeah,
that
take
wouldn't
it.
be
Go ahead.
bad.
What do they want? Give me your price. We can make something happen.
I'll take Anthony Black. I like that kid.
I love Anthony Black. I think the Magic need to hang on to him.
Yeah, you see how they didn't move off from those guys like they're Tristan da Silva and Anthony Black and who else is in there, but guys that are going to fit this timeline for the next few years and be able to fit their role and do it at a good job. So yeah,
Tristan Da Silva is another one. I think Anthony Black, Tristan Da Silva, and Mo Wagner are like the three guys that they really need to keep for that bench.
yeah, that's their core
Jonathan
for their
Isaac,
bench for sure.
yeah. Jonathan Isaac has been great at times, but he's just too unreliable. Um, you can't rely on him to stay in the lineup. And even when he's in the lineup, he's only playing 15 to 18 minutes. I think you could try to upgrade that, especially for the
Appreciate it, Storm.
contract, for the money that he's getting. I think you could definitely upgrade that bench piece. Maybe they could go after somebody like Nikhil Alexander Walker.
Right. You kind of want to have that like it's almost like phase one and phase two with your bench. It's almost like the same thing. You're getting the same thing off the bench when you're having Mo Wagner and Anthony Black is kind of like a Jalen Suggs 2.0. Obviously, Wagner's like his brother. But yeah, I think one more scorer off the bench, and you see this team making a really deep run, being like one of the top teams in the East next year. Are you excited for it? Are you excited being a season ticket holder for next year's Magic? Might have some primetime games to be at, bro.
I'm hoping so, man. Last year was actually my first year as an official season ticket holder. A couple years before that, I was just going to like 12 to 15 games a year. Um, so last year, I get season tickets for the first time. The year starts out decent. I mean, like the first 5 games, I guess I could say. I see Paulo drop like almost a 50-point triple double, and then he gets injured 2 nights later.
Yeah.
And then before he even comes back, Franz goes down. and then Mo Wagner goes down, and then Suggs goes down. So I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty disappointing first year, but
Yeah,
they got their guys back late in the season. They had a nice play-in game against the Hawks. They gave our Celtics a fight
right.
in the first round of the series. Still finished the series in five, but those games were they were tough. They made us work.
Hmm. Yeah, and you hope you get even bigger jumps from guys like Paolo and Franz next year, and you could be even better and make an even bigger swing, adding Desmond Bain to the mix too. You just know
And
those
for
guys are going
Magic
to
fans, I
improve.
mean, Magic fans are already hyped. You know, they got the rebrand, the new logos, new jerseys, and everything.
Hmm.
And now a week later, they get this huge Desmond Bain trade. It's like a lot to be excited about for Orlando.
Yeah, we were at those two playoff games here in Orlando, and I'll stand on it. Orlando probably has a bigger fan base. Thank you, Storm. Um, I'll give them a
For
bigure
sure.
fan base and a realer fan base than the Miami Heat down in Miami, where
Oh,
they
for
just have
sure.
the Latinas and the sugar daddies at the games.
They're just there for social hour, bro. They're there to be in the Ocho Lounge. I think that's what it's called.
All right, what do you think about Memphis? Where do you think this leaves them? After really back-to-back down years, now you lose Desmond Bain. You keep guys like Jaren Jackson Jr., GG. You have they have like a decent core, obviously surrounded around John Morant. Where do you think this leaves them? Do you think they just go full rebuild? How do you think this goes for the Grizzlies?
I feel like they still have so many good pieces to try to go full rebuild right now. You still have Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. That's a really good duo right there.
Zaire
And
Williams
then
played really
Desmond,
well last year too.
yeah, and then Jalen Wells, the rookie, he had a really solid year. Um, maybe hopefully Zach Edey turns into something. And then for Desmond Bain, obviously the players that you got back aren't that good with KCP and Cole Anthony, but you get all of those draft picks. So I feel like you could really they turn Desmond Bain into two players and four picks. They could easily just turn around and package all those picks to try to make another upgrade and make
Right.
a contender out of this team. But
You probably go after another star, in my
yeah,
eyes.
I think you probably go after another star because Ja and Jaren Jackson are a good duo. I don't know if that's a good enough duo to win you a championship as your two best players, even at their peak. So
Hmm.
maybe you go after a third star. I just feel like the Grizzlies had so much promise with this young core. It would be disappointing for them to just blow it all up so soon. But
I
I
agree.
mean, if they were to go in that direction, the amount of picks that they can get for Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. is astronomical. They already got four first rounders just for Desmond Bain.
Yeah, I
Even
think you got to try to flip those picks and try to
if
go
you want
after
to
somebody
if
who's
you
a
want to
star.
go full rebuild, you can probably go out and get another six or seven first round picks between Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. But if I'm the Grizzlies, I'm thinking retool with the core that we have now.
Hmm.
Because you already got, not only do you have John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., but we have those other guys like we were talking about, Zaire Williams, um, Jalen Wells, Scottie Pippen Jr., Zach
Hmm.
Edey. So I think you retool, if not get another star, then just get another third player that meshes really well with John Morant and Jaren Jackson and try to contend with the core that you have now. And if you go into next season and you stink, then maybe you reconsider and blow it up. But I think
Yeah,
it's way too
exactly.
for them to pull the plug.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson and John Morant have kind of solidified themselves in this league already. They're not rookies anymore. They're not on those young contracts. They're getting paid. It's time to surround them with somebody who's going to be able to take them to the next level. I don't think Desmond Bain was that guy for them, but yeah, I like you're saying, I don't think you blow that team up just yet. You try to use those picks that you got for Bain and try to retool with one more big name superstar and try to give it a shot at the West next year. But yeah, let them have another bad year next year, and they're blowing that thing up. Maybe even at the trade deadline before the season's even over.
especially with Ja Morant, because he played good basketball last year, but he wasn't
Mhm.
as good as he was like before he had all those distractions and the suspension and the injury and all that stuff. He was like a
I agree.
27.7 assist a night kind of guy in his second and third season. So last year, his numbers, he came back, his numbers kind of dropped a little bit. So I think if he can't get back to what he was in those first couple of years, then maybe you move on from him. But I don't think you do that right now. It's way too early.
Yeah, every team kind of has a shot in the West too. Like everybody's like a few games from each other. You got to give it your best shot each and every year. All right,
Yeah,
segment I just want to get
the
over
West
with.
is
Go ahead.
what's up? I was gonna
No,
say
we'll
the
talk
West
about
is so
Devers after
wide
this.
open. The West is so wide open, and I feel like a lot of those teams were not nearly as good as we thought they were. So if you build a good team, anybody in the West really has a chance.
Right.
Obviously, OKC is the cream of the crop, and that's why they won the West this year. But I got this clown Gene in the back distracting me. Uh, I just completely lost my train of thought, bro. Thunder are
All
the
right,
cream
we'll
of the
move
crop.
on to the Devers. Well, our executive producer just needs to stay executive producing right now and not distract you. All right, so I was enjoying my Sunday yesterday. Watched the Red Sox finish up a sweep on the Yankees. Devers hits a home run right over right into the monster. You got a nice victory, sweep the Yankees. We got five straight series victories. We go from 9 games back to 6.5 games back. And I relax. I'm going grocery shopping. I get home. I'm about to cook myself a nice meal, watch some Sunday night baseball. And I see Jeff Passan on my phone say that Rafael Devers has been traded to the San Francisco Giants. And I was appalled. It was like when the Shams trade dropped with Luca, I had to make sure that it was real, that this was happening. It was one of the worst moments as a Red Sox fan that I've had since the Mookie Betts trade. This guy, Craig Breslow, has just given up everybody that we had hoped for on this team. You had Chris Sale, who was once on the team, got rid of him for another bag of potato chips. But you get a guy who's been supposed to be your franchise superstar, and you get a guy that you sent to the minors, and you get a guy that has a 6 ERA and another AAA player. Not even, I don't even think he's a AAA player. I think he's like a double A. All for your 28-year-old superstar. It's insane to me. I lost hope in the Red Sox this year. I don't know where they're going from here. I was getting super excited after they sweep the Yankees. I was about to hop on this podcast today and give Rob hell, but I can't even enjoy it as a fan. I have to look forward to my team just tanking and punting this season. Give me your take on Rafi Devers. I'm tired of the Red Sox this year. I'm already ready for football season.
What a glorious Sunday it was. The Yankees get swept by the. I've never been more happy after the Yankees lost to the Red Sox. Um, this guy tweets. I mean, this guy texts our group chat saying "bum ass Yanks" and "bum ass Judge" right after they sweep us, and then 3 hours later, is singing a completely different tune. He's actually the one that broke the news to me. He was like, "Bro, what the fuck? Devers traded with like 8 question marks." Obviously, I run to Twitter how we do after every big news thing. You got to make sure it's real. I see Rafi Devers gets traded to the San Francisco Giants. Um, Obviously, as a Red Sox hater, I'm on top of the world right now.
Of course you
But
are.
Rafael Devers owns the Yankees, so I'm glad that he's out of the division. Now we only play him three times a year instead of 14. So the Yankees killer is gone. And two, like you said, all the Red Sox fans were so excited. They sweep the Yankees. They got all these young guys coming up. Roman Anthony comes up. They're on a 5 game winning streak. They're starting to play good baseball. And then 3 hours after they sweep the Yankees, they trade Rafael Devers. for a half-eaten bag of chips and some chewed up bubble gum. Um, it's honestly unfathomable. And then the report comes out this morning that the Red Sox didn't even shop him. Kind of
No.
similar to what the Mavs did with Luca, like you were talking about. I guess Nico Harrison took over the Red Sox. He calls up the Giants. He gets one of the shittiest offers he could find, and he doesn't even shop around to look for anything else. He says, "Yeah, we'll go with that."
Yeah.
Like you said, a guy that has a 4.5 ERA, and then a guy that has a 6.5 ERA, and then two prospects. One of them that happens to be, I think it was the Giants' number 4 prospect,
Yeah.
and then they give up another prospect. But wow, man, you trade away your franchise player for the second time in 5 years, just leaving your fans in absolute shambles.
Yeah. You
I
officially kind of turn the page.
I kind of feel bad for you, only you though, just because you're my boy. All the other Red Sox fans, good riddance.
I was probably like five, or probably like if so close so many times to buying that new City Connect jersey and the Rafi Devers jersey this year too. And just something was telling me not to buy it. And thank God I didn't, because I would have been trying to get my money back for it, returning
You
that
can get a
shit, putting the tags
James,
back on.
you can get a James Tibbs jersey. James
No,
Tibbs the third, right?
no.
Yeah,
But
bro. Go get a James Tibbs jersey.
it's kind of eerie how last, I think it was 2 years ago. When was Judge free agent in the offseason? I was screaming for the Giants to pay $700 million for Judge and take him away from the Yankees, and I would be the most happy human being. And now I get my franchise player. Doesn't even go out there in free agency. We just give him. We just get rid of him for nothing. Send him to
Were you
San
one of
Fran.
the guys? Were you one of the guys that saw the arson judge report and started jumping for joy?
Yes, I was so happy. I thought it was done.
Arson Judge to the Giants, and now Rafael Devers to the Giants, the actual real Rafael Devers.
So I think
They break your heart twice. Poor guy.
I don't I don't hate the move after you just think of how much of a cancer he could have been in the locker room, especially with this younger team. And you have those three up and coming guys. So you kind of want to get rid of that kind of cancer in the locker room and let these guys gel together and play the best that they can and not have anything holding them back. But Rafi Devers has been a top 10 hitter in baseball this year. So you let him carry the team and those three young guys for however long, and then you can get rid of him. It's his first, you have him for 10 years on contract. You can get rid of him at any point. It's $250 million. I get you're trying to get off the books and hopefully you make a move, but I think it's alarming how you don't even this team they're tied for a wild card spot right now, the third wild card. Get their first game above 500 in like 4 or 5 weeks, and you trade the best player that you have. It's alarming why you would even make this happen. You have a month until the trade deadline. You can play this out a whole nother month and shop him and get a bigger and even larger return.
But like, there's so many teams that would want Devers. I feel like even the Yankees would want Devers. Obviously, you would never give him to the Yankees. But like,
Yeah,
there's
no.
so many teams that would want Rafi Devers, especially if you wait until the trade deadline, because that's when teams are really thinking like, oh, what kind of upgrades can we make to try to
Right.
compete at the end of the season? And they trade him away for virtually nothing 6 weeks before the trade deadline. Um, and like you said, he had a poor start to the season, yeah, but the fact that his numbers are what they are, considering the start that he had, is insane. He's been one of the hottest hitters in baseball. He's been a top 10 hitter this year for sure. And really he's been one of those premier players in the league for a few years now. And you just trade him away for nothing, honestly. It's insane. I kind of, we had some friends, including our clown producer here, Gene, make some good points.
Oh, looks like we lost Rob. Gene, what'd you do with Rob? What happened?
At one timeout.
Why does he do this to us? My head's too big to be the only one on the screen. I hate it.
Oh man. So I get he's a locker room cancer. Yeah, he refuses to want a DH. He refuses to play first base and all this stuff. Um,
But
it's
he's
a bad
raking.
pres it's a bad presence in the clubhouse, but bro, he's the best player on your team.
Yeah.
One of the best hitters in baseball. He's the face of your franchise.
He's
Like,
the scariest guy in the lineup, like at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Who is the last guy that the pitcher wants for bottom of the ninth with freaking bases loaded? It's probably Rafi Devers.
and the Red Sox don't think that they can compete with the team that they have right now, at least not this season. Because if you think you can compete with the team you have now, there's no way you make that move.
See, I
'Cause they
think
still got
that
a
the
they still
yeah,
got a
let's
lot of
talk about
guys
that.
out with injury and stuff. They got a lot of guys coming back.
Hmm.
Um, and like you said, the AL East isn't even that good this year. The Yankees are at the top, but all the other four teams are kind of just meddling. Um, and the Red Sox, they were kind of creeping back up. They slipped a little. Then they won 5 games in a row, and
Yeah.
then Devers is gone 3 hours later.
So what
Their
do you
best
think?
player.
Do you think this team goes full rebuild? Do you think they, or do you think they rock it with this team that they have? I don't mind this team if you look at this lineup. You still have guys like Jaron Duran. You have William Abreu out in right. You have Toro playing his ass off in first. You have Narvaez, who's been a Yankee killer also ever since the Yankees gave him up. But I don't mind this team, and I think the pitching has been the biggest thing with this team and this stretch is we've been keeping teams from jumping out on us and scoring 5 runs. And I think if we have the pitching, I don't mind that the lineup that we have. If you have guys like Story that's hitting the ball once you get Bregman back, I think this team still has a shot at at playoff contention this year. But what do you think? What do you think they blow it up, or do you think they just rock it out with this team?
I don't think they blow it up. I mean, you can't really blow it up. Like you just gave Bregman a bunch of money.
Hmm.
Like you went out and made moves in the offseason to try to make your team better and take a step towards contention. So you can't just 3 months later decide, you know what? Actually, we're just gonna blow it up. Let's
Yeah,
do a fire sale. Like that makes no sense. Um, I still think it makes zero sense to trade away your best player and get almost nothing back in return. Like if you're gonna trade him, at least go out and get a good package. But I feel like they kind of have to keep the guys that they have now. And honestly, they have a nice young team. They have a lot of good young players. If they can just get the pitching right and get some of these guys back that are on the IL, then they could still maybe contend for a wild card spot. And then over the next couple of years, they have so many young players. They could build a nice, strong contender. But it's just it's just an out of nowhere trade to me, at least.
yeah. There's been reports that he kind of asked his way out at some point in the year, but from what it looked like to me, even yesterday, his last interview, he even said like, I'm behind all the stuff with the playing in the position field and all the arguments with our owner John Henry, and he was on to just playing some good baseball because we were winning games, and it's easy to kind of put that stuff behind you when you're winning ball games. And yeah, at the end of the day, I think him and John Henry kind of went at it, who's our owner, and John Henry was like, if I'm paying this guy 250 million, then he better do what I say or whatever the coach says and should kind of leave his attitude out of things and just do what's best for the team. So I could see why you get rid of him after that. What do you think this means for the Giants, though? Do you think they have a chance to kind of like the Dodgers are kind of injured? They have a chance to be able to. They're only what I think they're tied or they're 1 game back in the NL West, which is a very interesting division in baseball right now. What do you think this means for the Giants?
The Giants, the NL is kind of up and down. A lot of these teams have been really inconsistent so far this season. like you mentioned, the Giants, they're 2 games behind right now, the Dodgers. 2 games behind the Dodgers, 1 game ahead of the Padres. And then the Diamondbacks are still kind of lurking there at like 6.5 back.
Yeah, they
Um,
can get it going.
I feel like the Giants were one of those teams that surprised me early in the season. They've been better than I thought they were going to be, and now they go out to get one of the premier left-handed hitters in the game. I think that really elevates them, especially if you're going to go and make a playoff run. Because I feel like Devers is one of those guys that rises in the playoffs. He gets better when the games start to matter more. So I think I think that's a huge move for them, and you don't give up much either. So you go out Devers,
Yeah,
you don't give up much. They did eat the entire contract, I think, but that's fine. You're paying for the type of player that you're getting. Like, this is a top 10 hitter in baseball. So they
yeah.
get one of the best left-handed bats in the game. Pitching has been decent. I think the Giants are they're gonna make some noise down the stretch of the season. I think maybe we could look for them to make a couple more moves. But it's going to be tough for anybody to beat the Dodgers, especially if they're at full strength. But they've been banged up, like you said, for much of the year. But I feel like that was the Dodgers kind of last year. They were banged up for a lot of the regular season. Even in the playoffs, they were missing quite a few guys,
Yeah.
and they still managed to put everything together and win the World Series. So I think they're going to be one of those teams, like in that second tier. But I still think they're a little bit behind the Dodgers.
Talk about Buster Posey making moves even when he's not catching behind the plate for the Giants. It's kind of I like to see that. I like to see former players, guys who are studs, go out in the front office and still make a name for themselves and make an impact on the game. It's really good to see, really fun to see. Um, but I think the Giants. I think the you like you said, tier two of that NL. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to have a chance. They're going to be playing in September, October time. So I think Devers, I don't know how he's going to play in that kind of pitchers friendly ballpark. I think it's easy to hit when you have that big wall out in left field in Boston, and when you have that short right field in Boston as well, and you can have that big triangle. I think it's more of a hitter's ballpark than it is for a than it is in San Fran. So we'll see if Devers is legit. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
I'm pretty much just agreeing with what you said. Fenway Park is a lot more hitters friendly, but Devers got a lot of pop in that bat. So I
Yeah,
think McCovey Cove is gonna they're gonna get a lot of baseballs coming out there.
that's for sure. All right, let's move on to the NBA Finals. Uh, it's been a fun finals. That was a great game 2 nights ago. We have a great game to look forward to tonight. We have a 2-2 tied series. SGA just looked ridiculous down the stretch of that fourth quarter. So I want to talk about that. Talk about game four and them tying up this series. And it looked like the Pacers were kind of commanding that game mostly throughout the game. And then you see them just go cold the last maybe 4 or 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. And you just see the Thunder kind of imposing their will against this Pacers team. Let's talk about SGA. Let's talk about that last fourth quarter. Let me hear your take, Rob.
CA, I mean, the Pacers were trailing. I mean, not the Pacers, the Thunder were trailing for much of that game. They stayed you know, within range to make that run down the stretch, and then SGA just completely takes over in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game. He hits that huge three to bring it within one, I believe it was, and then
Yeah,
the very next time up the court, he hits a ridiculous mid-range fadeaway over the contest.
little push off.
Yeah, a little bit. But I mean, also he was kind of falling, and he was able to recover and get that shot off. That's
And
just
Neesmith fouls every time. Like you got to be
yeah,
able to
and he's
push off when
I mean,
Neesmith is
it's
guarding
just
you.
dumb
So
fouls too. It's like You know you can't have your hand on the offensive player's shoulder, bro. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? And with SGA, he's so smart. He's gonna recognize that, and he's just gonna go into a shooting motion every time, and they're gonna call it every single time.
Hmm.
But I feel like SGA has just shown a lot of poise. I feel like the biggest question with him coming into the postseason was if he was going to be able to keep his team collected and stuff in the fourth quarter and will them to these wins. And
Yeah.
he stepped up almost every time so far. Another huge fourth quarter. And he's having a fantastic series so far. Um, Obviously, we still have a series 2-2 going into the night, but if the Thunder were to win this series, SGA easily finals MVP. Like he's been the best player on the court by far.
Yeah. I think I really like the move for Mark Dagnott to really control his minutes. You saw earlier in the series for him getting super tired down the stretch. And you saw in this last game that Dagnott was taking him out early in the first, taking him out early in the third to be able to kind of preserve his energy and just not let the defense be able to keep throwing bodies at him all game long, which you know they're going to do to try to shake him and get him off his spots. But I thought the Pacers looked really tired at the end of that game four. You saw it with them missing. They only went. I think they went 1 for 6 from the free throw line in the last minute or last 2 minutes down the stretch. This team looked exhausted, and it's not something we really saw from them all playoff long. Um, but SGA, like you were saying, getting to his spots down the stretch, scoring 15 points in the fourth quarter after what you thought was them blowing game one and them not doing anything in the clutch, them coming out in this clutch game. I thought it was very impressive. It's what the Thunder needed. They needed to respond, kind of how they did in game two. The Pacers, I thought, going into that fourth quarter, all they had to do was play an average fourth quarter, and they'd been up 3-1 in the finals. You had Obi Toppin hitting three after kind of being hesitant on one shot, and then you saw him just letting that thing fly. Um, but yeah, I thought that was a great game. It was one of the best finals games we've had in a while. This series has been way better, a lot more popcorn than people thought it was going to be. And I think the Thunder have control going back home today, and I think they'll probably get a win. But we'll talk on that a little bit later. Um, how about Alex Caruso? Let's talk about him. This guy, back to back games of having a big impact. Talk about him being an X factor in this series.
Alex Caruso, first player in NBA history, I believe, to report two 20-point games in the finals after not having one in the regular season. And it's kind of fitting. He's one of the only guys on both rosters that has championship experience. He's won a championship before. So he knows what it takes. And I feel like this is pretty much what I was saying on the last episode, too. Like, this guy has just completely elevated his game in the playoffs in every facet. He's given his team what they need, whether it's the defense or the 3-point shooting or the transition buckets. He's just been a championship piece. Like, this is going out and signing Alex Caruso could be the reason why the Thunder are champions in a couple of nights.
Very much so. I thought he's played really good defense. I thought he's been highly efficient in this finals. When you have another 3 and D guy that's hitting shots and getting to the rim too, the way that he affects the game. I think if Halliburton's Osama bin Laden, then Alex Caruso's the Navy SEAL that killed the guy. So that's his piece in the finals
Oh
this year.
man,
So I
you
thought
could
it's
argue
been really exciting.
you could argue that Caruso has been the Thunder's second best player in
Yeah,
this series, or at least their second most important player. He had what,
for
20
real.
points, 5 steals in the last game.
He's been incredible, that's for sure. I
Yeah.
think him and that team was really struggling to shoot the three ball the last game. And if you told me that they were going to hit three threes and still win a game, I would have told you you were fucking crazy. But you saw Caruso. getting them out of those stretches where they could not get a bucket and either getting fouled or hitting tough layup. I thought he played really well for them and being able to keep them going down the
He's
stretch
such
in
a
that
high
game.
IQ player. He knows when to
Yeah,
pick his spots.
for sure. We were talking about this guy last week, Chet Holmgren. Um, his stats probably hasn't been anything crazy up until probably the last game where he had a double double. Um, but we were saying that we wanted kind of an X factor type of game from Chet Holmgren one of these days, and I thought we got it in the last game with the double double, getting a couple key rim grazing dunks off putbacks that the team really needed this last game. So let's talk about Chet Holmgren. Um, what what do you think about how important he's been for the Thunder in this series?
Chet Holmgren, he's been huge, and I feel like Chet Holmgren, he's so important because, like you said, you don't know what you're going to get from him. Like one night he has 6 points, the next night he goes out and he gives you 20 and 10.
Yeah.
Or he could be 70% from the field, or he could be 40% from the field. You just never know what you're going to get from the guy. But when he's at his best, he's going to give you a 20-point double double. He's going to be blocking shots, knocking down threes, and he's going to be efficient.
Hmm.
He's such a wild card. But the last few games, even game three, the game that they lost, he had a 20-point double double. The efficiency wasn't great, but he was contributing. And in the last game, like you said, 14 points, 15 rebounds. He was protecting the rim. And that fourth quarter was huge. He had 6.6 boards in 10 minutes in the
Wow,
fourth quarter. Was 2 for 2 from the field and a plus 16 in 10 minutes.
that's incredible.
So he really answered the call for sure.
So I saw the Thunder try to make this change. Initially starting Hartenstein last game, and you saw early in that game that the Pacers just were fluid in their offense. I think they got two wide open threes in the first 4 or 5 minutes of this series. So I think with Hartenstein kind of being unplayable, you needed Chet to be able to have a huge game or be able to have a huge impact on this series, and I think he's held his own. Think quietly he's been the most important big in this series, even though he's not hitting the three ball and not scoring maybe as much as we thought. But I think his floor spacing is a big part in being able to play defense and kind of be able to switch. Yeah, like Marcus is saying, pulling Turner out the middle, forcing Turner to not be really as much of a post threat as well on the offensive end, and forcing Turner into tough shots. But yeah, I like the way that Chet's been playing. Chet's been huge. One of my favorite players on the Thunder. But yeah, Carlisle wasn't able to exploit him the same way that Hartenstein he was able to exploit Hartenstein for sure. You have anything else on Chet?
Um, Not much. I feel like he just needs to keep playing the kind of basketball that he's been playing the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So if I mean he's been playing good, young player, didn't really know what you were gonna get from him. You never really know what you're gonna get from young, inexperienced guys, especially late in the playoffs. But I feel like Chet Holmgren has really stepped up. He's only had like one bad game in this series. But other than that, he's given you all you could ask of him.
All right. What's your so we have a 3 game series tied 2-2. OKC has 2 home games. Obviously, a home game tonight. They where do you think this series goes from here? Do you think we got game 7 or do you think Thunder win it tonight and win game 6 in Indiana?
Okay, so almost every prediction I've made so far has been wrong. The last show that we did, I did say that I think the Pacers and Thunder would split the games in Indy and go back to OKC tied 2-2. So I finally got something right. I'm gonna give
Attaboy.
myself the credit for that. Yeah, I got to take what I can get. But who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong again. But my gut tells me that the Thunder win tonight, and then they go on the road and finish it on the road in Indiana.
How do you like the spread tonight? I think Thunder are minus 9.5. Do you think they beat the spread, or do you think the Pacers cover? You think we got a good game on our hands, or Thunder win by double digits? I like the Pacers to
Pacers,
cover.
Pacers cover. I like the Pacers to cover. This series is just the basketball that they've given us so far just screams that the Pacers are going to cover.
Right.
Like these teams are playing at such a high level, both of them. Every game so far has been like cinema.
Yeah, I hope we get three more games of what we saw 2 nights ago in Game 4. I hope we just get battles and coaching adjustments. I want to talk about Rick Carlisle making some coaching adjustments. Um, but yeah, I like you're saying, I want some more cinema in this series. I hope it goes 7 games. I do think it's going to finish in 6, but I think Game 6, Pacers back against the wall, they might be able to do something and win that game in Indiana. The Haliban might strike again in that game, and the Devil Magic might work in mysterious ways in Game 6 in Indiana. So you never know um, once you get there.
Every
So
every part of this run has been so improbable. I wouldn't be surprised by anything at this point.
right,
The Pacers could win the next two and finish it at home in six. And like
correct,
I couldn't even be surprised at that point because
right. And what if they win tonight?
it's been happening for the last 2 months.
If the Pacers
Like
win tonight,
this whole season of basketball tells me that the Thunder should win, but I feel
right?
like it just doesn't matter. That shit doesn't matter.
But right now it's tied 2-2 and it's a toss up, and whoever wins Game 5 obviously has momentum going into the next few games and they have the upper hand. But right now it's anybody's game. Whoever wins tonight obviously will have the strong hand in the series.
And honestly, I hope I'm wrong. I'm pulling for the Pacers to win. I think the Thunder finish it in six, but I hope the Pacers pull off the crazy underdog story and get their first championship in franchise history. A
Yeah, it would
Pacers
shake
team
the
that
NBA.
was a Pacers team is for the betters out there. They were plus 6,600 to win the finals before the season started.
Goodness gracious, bro. Somebody
Yeah,
wouldn't have let it ride this
6,600.
long. They would have
I
cashed
think
they would
the
have cashed out.
I think the biggest underdog or like the highest odds of a champion before the season so far is like plus 2,000 or something, or maybe
Wow.
plus 3,000. The Pacers are at almost plus 7,000. Well, they were before the season started. And now they're 2 games away.
All right, what do you think Rick Carlisle needs to adjust for this Pacers team to be able to going into Game 5 to be able to try to give them a chance to win this finals?
I think they just need to keep trying to find ways to make life tough for SGA. Andrew Nemhard has done a fantastic job on SGA, and Andrew Nemhard has really done a fantastic job on every star that they've thrown his way. This
Especially in
guy
the
is
playoffs, yeah.
this guy's such a hard-nosed defender. And shout out that guy, honestly. Andrew Nemhard he's another guy that's raised every part of his game in the playoffs. The efficiency has skyrocketed. He's locking up superstars in every series. Like this guy's been doing it all. But if they can just find ways to keep SGA, at bay and just keep the pace where they want it to be. Obviously, the Pacers want it to be a track meet, and they just need to keep letting it fly. I think they need high scoring games. Like we saw game 3, they scored 116. Like the Thunder have just had a tough time slowing the Pacers down, which is crazy because the number one defense all year.
Right.
And they're having a tough time slowing the Pacers down. They were able to find ways to do that in game 4. And another thing, I think Tyrese Halliburton just has to be that guy. Like he needs to have those big scoring games. Like you said, it's only a 3 game series. This is the next 3 games to decide if you're going to be an NBA champion. Like this is your legacy.
Hmm.
If you want it that bad, you got to go out there and take it, man.
You
And
might not ever
Tyrese,
get that chance ever again, Tyrese.
yeah, you might never, yeah, like you said, you might never play in the finals again. This might be the only chance you have. You got to go out there and leave it all on the court. I'm looking. Tyrese needs to have another one of those 32, 15, and 10 games that he had in that next series.
What I Pascal Siakam, after having such a great Eastern Conference Finals, I feel like has been nowhere to be found in this NBA Finals the last few games. Down the stretch, when this Pacers team can't get a bucket, you're telling me you don't go to probably him and Benedict are their probably two best isolation scorers. But I think Pascal's probably their number one guy when it comes to isolation scoring, being able to hit shots up, kind of mid-range shots, kind of get to his spot in that way. He's kind of like a funky guy when it gets the way he shoots the ball, but still, he's probably your best isolation scorer. And I think he's been down the stretch just nowhere to be found. You're not going to give that guy the ball when you traded for him, which I think is surprising. And but yeah, I think Indiana has a couple things that they need to do. They need to get guys like when Obi Toppin was getting going, shooting the three ball, and he's your center. At that point, you got to let him ride throughout the fourth quarter too. They need that shooting from him to be able to spread the floor. Um, and yeah, that's just kind of my take on it. I think we saw good role players being able to have their make their mark on these games like McConnell. I think guys like Ben Shepherd also need to step it up. But yeah, this Pacers team they need to do something. They had that game in their hands. They just all they had to do was have a good fourth quarter, and they'd been up 3-1 in the finals.
For
That's just my
sure.
take
Because
on it.
and like you mentioned, TJ McConnell had that huge game in game 3. 10 points, 5 assists, and 5 steals in only 15 minutes. I don't think that stat line has ever been posted before in finals history
Right.
in those amount of minutes.
I
So
think
this
from a
guy
guy off
comes
the
out
bench,
and
yeah.
this guy has a huge game in game 3. And then Obi Toppin comes out in game 4 and gives you 17 points and 7 rebounds. Like you're getting the role players to step up and give you those games that you need. You just need your stars to carry the load.
Hmm.
Tyrese Halliburton, like Tyrese wasn't bad in game 4, but 18 points and 7 assists from your best player in a game 4 of the finals, that's just not good enough.
No, not at
And
all.
Pascal Siakam, I know he had a good stat line, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, but that's like if you're a box score watcher, I guess that's cool. He had 6 points in the second half. And like you said, he didn't even score in the fourth quarter. He put up one shot and didn't score. Minus 14 in the fourth quarter. This is winning time.
Hmm.
You're a couple minutes away from taking a 3-1 lead in the finals. Only one team has ever come back from a 3-1 lead in the finals, and that team had LeBron James. You go up 3-1, you've pretty much won. And then they just completely throw the game away. And then for the Thunder, it's the exact opposite. Their best player, their MVP, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, goes for 15 points in the fourth quarter. Just shows complete poise. He's in complete control of the game at every moment. Finishes with 35 points and gives you another MVP type performance to pretty much save his season. And not just
Yeah,
save his season, but even for SGA, that moment for him is huge personally. Because if you look at it, they're down 2-1 in the series. You're 3 minutes away from going down 3 games to 1. And if you look at the fourth quarter of game 3, SGA was nowhere to be found. He had three
yeah, they were saying
points
he was shit in the
in the
bed.
fourth
Yeah.
quarter. So for him to come out in game 4 and have a monster fourth quarter like that and save his team's season, that's the MVP type of performance that you're looking for from an
Hmm.
MVP caliber player.
For sure. Um, I think Siakam. What's the super fan from the Raptors? Siakam needs to pay him back for his flight because that guy flew all the way from Toronto to go watch him do put up stinkers in the fourth quarter.
Unbelievable, man.
All right, let's look into Game Five. Who do you think's an unsung player that you think can unexpectedly swing this series on either team?
For the For the Thunder, I'll say Aaron Wiggins.
Okay.
Um, and he's a guy that's already had a big game in this series. He
Hmm.
had that 20-point game a few nights ago. Um, Look for him to maybe have a big game off the bench. They just have so many young guys like Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace. Like all three of those guys could give you that game
Yeah.
if you're the Thunder. But I would say Aaron Wiggins for the Thunder. You look for him to give you some big minutes off the bench. Uh, and if you're the Pacers, it's got to be one of those three role players that have been stepping up so far: T.J. McConnell, Ben Mathurin, and Obi Toppin. They've
Yeah.
both given you one great performance each.
Hmm.
Look for any three of those guys. You just need like one out of the three to give you something. But I feel like even if the role players step up, if Siakam and Halliburton don't do what they need to do, it's not going to matter.
Yeah. I want to see Andrew Nemhard kind of get going on the offensive end. He's been very quiet on the offensive end this whole finals. Obviously, he's been matched up with SGA on the defensive end, but I think when Nemhard gets it going, he's a very good isolation scorer as well that they have that they can lean on. You saw it at the end of game one that they were going to him for buckets. But I think if you go to him, Ben Shepherd is another guy off the bench, and I think Benedict Mathurin could be their third best scorer any given night. You saw the game where he shot, I think it was like 9 for 12, but he was shooting insane at an insane clip. Um,
7 points in 22 minutes off the bench. That is huge, man.
yeah, and he's a chippy guy. He gets going. He gets the defenders going because he talks so much shit. So I think Benedict Mathurin, Andrew Nemhard, you want to look to them to be able to carry this Indiana team
Aaron
down the stretch.
and maybe Aaron Neesmith too. I feel like
Yeah.
he started the series. He played pretty well in the two
Hmm.
games in Oklahoma City. And then they come back home to Indiana. You should have all this energy playing in front of your home crowd. And I feel like he kind of laid a couple of duds, in my opinion. He could have been better those two games.
So you're taking Thunder tonight?
I'm taking the Thunder tonight, um, in a close one.
What do you think? What do you think SGA's stat line's looking like? He didn't have any assists last game. What do you think he's looking like?
Look for one of those. Look for one of those 35-5 nights. I don't think it's gonna have to be one of those big 40-point nights for SGA. I think he can
Hmm.
just give you an SGA stat line, which is kind of crazy that that's just an SGA stat line, like 35-5. This guy could put up 35-5, and that's lower than his season averages, actually, which is just nuts. But look for SGA to probably get around that 32-5-5. And I think Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren pick up some of that other weight, and the Thunder get the big win to take a 3-2 series lead.
Looking forward to it. I think the same thing. All right, let's. We had a little golf going on yesterday. It was disgusting out there. You had a rain delay, one of the hardest courses there is on the tour, and you have a 60-foot putt to sink the win. That was electricity yesterday. I was able to kind of catch um, those last few holes, and I was following on my phone as well, just seeing guys after the break go like +6, shooting triple double bogeys because it was just so tough out there. But JJ Spawn wins. What do you said it was his first major?
First major championship at the
Wow.
U.S. Open.
Um, so let's talk about how that kind of like how that's significant for his career. Talk a little bit about it. I had my first 18 like a couple weeks ago at Buff's birthday. Rob golfs a little bit, but
A little bit,
yeah.
dibble and dabble. JJ Spawn, I mean, that's massive, man. He's been playing some really good golf lately, but that's not one of the guys that I would have put my money on for the U.S. Open.
Hmm.
Um, he only shot a 72 in the fourth round. He was a +2 yesterday, but he made two huge birdie putts after being a +1. He entered the 17th hole at a +1, and then he birdies the last two to clinch his first major championship. It's only his second win on the tour. The last win he had, I think, was either 2021 or 2022. So this first win in 4 years, and it's
I
at
think
a
he was
major.
runner up last week as well.
Yeah,
Pretty sure he was.
yeah, he's been playing a lot of good golf. And earlier in the year, he was in a playoff. He actually made it to a playoff in the Players Championship, which is pretty much considered like the fifth major of golf after those four major championships. So he makes it to a playoff in the Players, losing to Rory McIlroy, and he's carried that momentum. He's carried it into Oakmont this weekend, and he wins his first major at the U.S. Open. Only player to finish even par or better. Everybody else was over par. And what a putt to finish it, man. 64 feet out on a wet green.
Hmm. Turned out to be a really good end to the Father's Day weekend. It was kind of a slow start to the Father's Day weekend in sports news, but it kind of picked up there at the end with the two trades yesterday, and then you got the that fantastic finish, and you had some good Sunday night baseball. Looking forward to these last few games in the finals. But basketball season's almost over, and then you got the draft, and then you're all the way into the off season. Then we're talking about football again. So yeah, it turned out to be a really good weekend here in sports. We're gonna kind of move on to our rookie segment. We're gonna do it's like a would you rather almost, but we're gonna call it rookie versus the vet. Jaden Daniels edition. We left him out of the start bench cut last week, just because we thought he was in his own kind of tier list. So we're gonna see what tier he is in. I got five names to be able to compare. Would you take Jaden Daniels over them this year, right now, to lead your team? You had a guy that made the NFC Championship last year, probably had the best rookie season of any quarterback that we've seen. So, all right, let's start us off. I'm going to start off with a guy in the NFC who he beat on his way to the NFC Championship. Jared Goff. Are you riding with Jared Goff or are you rolling the dice with Jaden Daniels? Who are you taking? Jared Goff
Jared
had a
Goff.
great year last year.
Jared Goff did have a really good season. He was in MVP talks for a good portion of the season. I At this current moment in time for next season, I might go ahead and say Jared Goff, but obviously long term, yeah, I'm gonna go Jaden Daniels. But just for this upcoming season, I'll say Jared Goff. He did have a really good season. It was actually a lot better than I remember it being. But every I feel like we all just remember that disappointing playoff game. The
Yeah,
guy comes out and throws how many interceptions did he have? Like four picks.
terrible.
You lock up the number one seed in the NFC, and you come out and throw four interceptions and lose to a wild card team with a rookie quarterback. It's like even
How do you do
after
that?
how great of a season he had, when your season ends that way, like that's all people are gonna remember.
Hmm. For sure. I'm gonna take Jaden Daniels. If you put Jaden Daniels with that team up there in Detroit, that guy is loaded. He's got Amon Ra, you got Sam Laporta, you got two great running backs in Jameer
Yeah.
Gibbs and David Montgomery. I think, and they obviously had a really good scheme with Ben Johnson last year. I think that kind of hides how kind of meaty. I think Jared Goff is not the middle of the pack. I think he does make really good throws, but at the end of the day, these guys are wide open. Um, just with the scheme, and he has a really good offensive line. You put Jaden Daniels with that team. I mean, he's playing with Terry McLaurin, and he's going to have Debo Samuel this year. But Jaden Daniels just makes everybody rise to the occasion because they have Jaden Daniels on that team. I think he'd be a better fit or I don't know about fit, but he'd be better for that Detroit team. I don't think they would lose and shit the bed like they did. like they did with Jared Goff.
I can agree with that.
All right, we're going to talk about the guy that was there in Detroit before Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl winning quarterback. This is the kind of tier that I think that Jaden Daniels is in. Who are you taking, Matt Stafford, who's really kind of revamped his career out there in LA? Or are you taking Jaden Daniels?
I'm gonna go ahead and take Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I think this one's kind of
Matthew
easy.
Stafford is still a lot better than people give him credit for, but I feel like he wasn't as good last year as he could have been. Obviously, he was a lot better towards the end of the season. And
Hmm.
in that playoff run, the Rams were kind of the only team that really gave the Eagles trouble.
Yeah,
They really had the Eagles on their ropes there. They had a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. And then obviously Jalen Carter gets that massive sack to set them back like 10 yards. And that was pretty much it after that. But,
right.
Stafford had a really good season, but I'm gonna take Jaden Daniels.
I think Stafford a couple of years ago probably edges out this current Jaden Daniels, but I think Stafford's towards the end of his career. I don't think we get another kind of Super Bowl run out of Matt Stafford ever again. I think
Yeah,
this
he's just getting
is,
old, man. He's already
yeah,
36.
we're towards the latter half of this Matthew Stafford
Actually,
um,
he's
career.
37. He turned 37 right after the season ended. So he's really getting up there.
Yeah, you're going to see this Rams team, going to need to retool here soon. But they got the veteran in Stafford and Devontae Adams and Puka, so we'll see. They might make a little bit of noise, and Kyron next year they might make a little noise.
Stafford is actually he's one of the quarterbacks that I wanted the Steelers to go after in the offseason,
Hmm.
in that initial early offseason free agency period where Matt Stafford and Sam Darnold and some of these other guys were still available. And then obviously we let everybody walk in. We end up with 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. But enough of that.
Stay off the ayahuasca, Rob. We're gonna
I might go
let's.
home and drink bleach.
All right. How about Justin Herbert, another guy that has elite arm talent, but very inconsistent results? Are you taking? Is it fair to say Justin Herbert's a veteran at this point? I think he is at this point in his career. Um, Kind of get the keys to that franchise as well. Would you rather have Justin Herbert or are you taking Jaden Daniels?
Jaden Daniels for sure. Justin
For
Herbert
sure.
again. Yeah, I mean
I don't know about for sure.
Justin Herbert, man, he's really good. He's honestly really talented. He had a really good season last year. He had 23 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. So like he has an arm. He doesn't make that many mistakes. So he's a really good quarterback. I just feel like he hasn't put it all together yet for whatever reason. And that playoff game that they blew 27-0 against the Jaguars still leaves a really bad taste in my mouth when I think about Justin Herbert and the Chargers.
Yeah, it has to.
Justin Herbert is still a top 10 quarterback easily, I think. But
But he has top five upside for sure
yeah,
with his arm talent and the type of throws that he can make. And you see the Chargers kind of they're about to go all in on him and be able to try to put some he's making Lad McConkey look like a top 10 receiver in football. Like you put some good weapons around Justin Herbert and he's going to be ridiculous. I mean, you draft Quentin Johnson who really hasn't panned out. Maybe had one of the worst flashes on Monday Night Football where he was dropping like two passes and not even making any impact on the game. I would take Jaden Daniels now, but I'll take Justin Herbert's upside in the future because I think he has that same run aspect to his game that Jaden Daniels has, but he's got such a great arm that he doesn't need to run as much. But I think you put some weapons around Justin Herbert and he would have one of the top 5 careers of any quarterback right now. I think he's one of the most talented. I don't think he's like a Philip Rivers. I think he's better than Philip Rivers was, or has that upside to be better than him. But that's just my take on things. I think Justin Herbert is one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league.
He's he's really nice, man. I just feel like he has to put it together, and obviously it's not all on him because he has to have a good enough team around him too. But he's gotten to the playoffs twice, and the first time he blows a 27-0 lead against the Jaguars. That's not all on him because he's not the one giving up all the points. But
Hmm.
you are the one running the offense. While they're scoring 28 points, you're not putting up anything. And then last year, he gets to the playoffs for the second time, and he throws 4 interceptions and loses in wild card weekend.
Like I think Jaden
Whereas
Daniels
Jaden
is a really
Daniels,
good game manager.
Jaden Daniels comes in his rookie season, and he wins 2 playoff games and gets his team to the NFC Championship.
Yeah,
And he's not making all these mistakes, and he's such a versatile player.
yeah. I think I like how Harbaugh is coaching this Chargers team, not really making Herbert have to make all these crazy explosive plays to be able to win them games and be able to lean on the run game a little bit, and him to be able to dink and dunk a little bit, and then also be able to extend the field with some big plays. But they need to just put some more guys around him. All right, let's talk about a guy in Dallas, Dak Prescott. Great regular season quarterback, regular season winner. Going to get you all these wins in the regular season, but what is he going to do in the playoffs? Division foe, Jaden Daniels, Dak Prescott. Who are you taking to lead your team at this point in their career?
Taking Jaden Daniels over that fraud 7 days of the week.
Yeah,
Dak
twice on
Prescott is,
Sunday.
yeah, maybe 3 times on Sunday, actually. And if the Cowboys are playing against the Commanders, screw it, maybe 5 or 6 times. But like Dak Prescott, he puts up good numbers in the regular season, and he never puts it together, man. He's been in the league too long, and he's had too many talented teams around him. At some
Yeah,
point, you
he's
got
had
to
some of
put
the best offensive talent in the league around him, and he still can't do it.
you got to step up when it matters, man. And he hasn't yet. He might have another great regular season. He might put up MVP caliber numbers again. But once January rolls around, I have no expectations for the Cowboys.
If Jaden Daniels had CeeDee Lamb, CeeDee would be catching like 2,500 yards a season.
I would take Mason Rudolph over Dak Prescott.
You're crazy. No, you wouldn't.
I'm not joking, bro. Give me that Mason Rudolph Linsanity run from 2023 over Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I think Miles Garrett needs to hit you in the head with a helmet. I'm
Maybe
obviously
that
going to
was
take
much
Jaden
intense.
Daniels. Yeah, I'm obviously going to take Jaden Daniels over Dak Prescott here. I do think Prescott is he's he's manageable. He's a top 10, maybe 9, 10 quarterback in the league. But when it turns to the playoffs and the lights get bright, this guy just chokes time and time again. And like you said, he's been on great offensive teams. He's had Ezekiel Elliott in his prime. He's had Des Bryant, or actually, I don't think he had Des Bryant, did he? No, I don't think so. But he's
Might have
had
for like
CD,
1 or 2 seasons,
yeah, but
but it
he's
wasn't
had
that
CD Lamb, who's also one of the best receivers in football. And I think if you gave that to Jaden Daniels would go out and win a damn Super Bowl. So, um, yeah,
And now
I
they
think
got
that one
him
was
even
pretty
more
easy.
weapons. Now they went out and got him George Pickens to go along with CD Lamb. Like this guy has no excuses, man. If he doesn't produce next year, no excuses.
I'm
He's
surprised
got to show up when it matters.
they still never moved off this guy. I don't know what he's doing to Jerry behind the scenes, but yeah, they still haven't moved off from Dak Prescott. It's crazy. All right,
Uh,
last one.
it's probably whatever the massage therapists were doing to Robert Kraft a few years ago.
Okay, he's paying those big bucks for that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they settled out of court and this stuff doesn't ever have to get brought to light. All right, last but not least, we got our Super Bowl winner, Jalen Hurts. I think this is kind of the ceiling that Jaden Daniels is fighting towards. They obviously had their first NFC championship matchup, which I think they might have again in their future that you can look forward to. Jalen Hurts has a stacked team. He's got Devontae Smith. He's got AJ Brown. He's got the best running back in football in Saquon Barkley. Who are you taking to lead your team just at the quarterback position? Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. I think this one's a little bit tougher than people think, but I'm a Jalen Hurts kind of supporter in that sense. But go ahead. Who are you taking?
It's tougher than people think. I feel like most people would honestly take Jaden Daniels, but most
Hmm.
people are only going to look at the stats and say that Jalen Hurts gets carried
Right.
and that he sucks. But I completely disagree with that. I think Jalen Hurts is a great leader for the Eagles. And he might not put up the best stats, but every time his team needs him to step up, he does it. Every time. He's going to make the right play. He's going to make the right reads. He's going to take off and scramble when he needs to. He can make the big throws when he needs to.
Hmm.
Like people act like Jalen Hurts can't throw the football. It's insane. It's incredibly disrespectful. And it's the same thing that they do to Lamar Jackson. I feel like they just hate quarterbacks that run the ball.
Yeah, go look at that Super Bowl against the Chiefs, the first one,
Yeah,
and
this
Jalen
guy
Hurts had one
was
of the
putting
best
on
Super
a
Bowl
clinic,
performance.
a passing clinic. His team lost, but that's not his fault. Him and his offense put up 35 points. The defense just couldn't stop Pat Mahomes.
Right. I'm going to take Jalen Hurts. I think he's just that proven veteran. I think he leads your team a little bit better. Obviously, his team is ridiculously stacked, but Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl. I think the noise that comes with playing as a quarterback in Philadelphia is that just comes with it. You're going to be hated in any sense just because you have Philly fans who are ridiculously loud and obnoxious and have to get their takes off. So I think that's just how it goes when you're a quarterback in Philly. You're going to have that noise around you. But Jalen Hurts, I think, is a poised player for that. I don't think a lot of players can make it look so easy as he does and just stay all cool, calm, and collected as he always does in those press conferences. I really like Jalen Hurts. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. I think people hate on him because he gets probably 8 or 9 tush push touchdowns a year, but he's reliable. He's a big part of that offense. He's a big part of why that offense is what it is. But yeah, that's my take on it. I'll take Jalen Hurts over Jaden Daniels at least right now.
I'm still salty that the Steelers passed on Jalen Hurts in the draft a few years ago. When we knew we needed a quarterback because Ben was about to retire.
Hmm.
Jalen Hurts was sitting right there, and I wanted them to take him so bad, and we just passed on him. I don't know
Yeah,
why. I'm pretty sure that might have been the year that we took Pat Fryermuth instead. And I love Pat Fryermuth, especially because he's a Penn State guy. Me being a Penn State fan, but come on, man. I It's been like 5 years now, and I'm still disappointed that we passed on Jalen Hurts
yeah, it's tough for sure.
because he went in. What did he go in the third round?
Yeah,
Maybe it might have been the second round. So he goes in the second round. But even still, I thought we could have taken him in the first. I think he was still available for us in the second. But either way, I just I'll never get over it, man. Now he's a Super Bowl champion, and we're still looking for a quarterback, and we have a 41-year-old running the team next year.
now you look forward to it. All right, that'll kind of be a wrap on this week's episode. We'll talk finals next week. We might even have a champion next week. Um, this was a good show. We'll talk to you guys next week. Make sure you follow us on all platforms. Like, subscribe to video. You'll see all of
And
us next week.
And
Go.
one speaking of champions, the Florida Panthers have a chance to be the Stanley Cup champions tomorrow night, Game 6. Looking to go back to back. They have a chance to finish it off and clinch it. So go Panthers. Gonna be rooting for them. Hopefully they finish it off.
You're a Panthers fan now?
Bro, I'm not a pan. I don't watch hockey,
That's
but
your
like,
last Infinity Stone from all over the country?
yeah, I should. Should I just go? Should I go Panthers or Lightning, bro? Like at this, since I don't have a hockey team, I feel like I have to go Panthers or Lightning right now. I mean, I could go Panthers now, and then when the Lightning build another contending team, I could flip. But
Whatever. Whatever you're going to
you
tell
should be
yourself.
rooting for the Panthers, bro. The Panthers have your guy, Brad Marchand.
I'm not rooting for them.
He's only the second. I mean, he's only like the seventh player ever to have 5+ goals in multiple finals, and he did
I'm
it with
proud of
your team
him.
first 14 years ago. You should be happy.
I'm proud of him, but yeah, I'm not
Root
rooting
for
for that
Brad
damn
Marchand.
team.
Root
Not at
for
all.
Brad Marchand.
Appreciate everybody that listened this week. We'll talk to you guys soon. Enjoy your guys' week. Hopefully, we see a couple champions this coming week, though. See y'all.
Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Have a good one.
Peace.